that's going to offend the province, so we want to be careful about putting full court presses with petitions and all that kind of thing, because we don't want to embarrass the province. We want to be cooperative with them, but I think hearing the collective voice from the community is important. So we will reach out and let you know how we can work together to help influence and let everyone know that this is important to everybody. Yes.
I have a question, and it refers to, it's a little off topic, but refers to one of your other slides there where it shows the corridor from the beachfront down and you show all the units.
Yep.
Just if you could clarify, or maybe this will lead in for Frank, I'm not sure. It says 2,000 units at the beachfront?
Yes.
Oh?
Let me clarify. So when I put this slide together, that, just so everyone knows, that was the number that Zangor Bay Cliff was proposing to build at the beachfront. I included that, I guess I did title that beachfront. I used the number that we were seeing from that proposal. I do not believe we're gonna be that high, and I'll let Frank, and Frank is shaking his head too. So we're not gonna be 2,000 units. For the purpose of talking with the Ministry of Education, it didn't hurt to show that number, to show them that we're growing. But rest assured, we hear you loud and clear. Yes?
Yes, if you're familiar with Mississauga and you go up Erin Mills Parkway, you come to Gonzaga Secondary School. It's tied into a huge, beautiful library. It's got a community pool, doesn't have a rink. It's been there for years, and it's used by all segments of the community, kids and adults as well. Works superbly.
I couldn't agree more. So for those at the back that didn't hear that, he was mentioning Gonzaga Community Hub in Mississauga. I am very familiar with that. I worked for the city of Mississauga for 13 years. So Mississauga does community hubs exceptionally well, probably one of the leaders in the province. This is very much the kind of facility that Mississauga builds. This may sound negative, but the one thing that Mississauga does well is leverage federal and provincial dollars. If we could roll back the clock, the one thing I would change here is I would have positioned all of this, including the arena library, as a community hub, and that's what we were doing back in 2014. We were working with the Wynne government and we were pitching this complex. We were on the list. I am very confident that this community would have got 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, because that's what they were telling us. So that was the one mistake we made. The facility is beautiful, no question. You're gonna love it, but if we could go back in time, that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 would have been smart. That's how Mississauga pays for their community hubs. And I'll stop there. Oh, last question, then I'm gonna open the floor to Frank so we can make sure we get enough time for the beach run. Yes?
My question is how environmentally friendly will this school be?
How environmentally friendly will the school be? To be determined. Obviously, we will work with the school board and ensure that it's best practices. Again, even if you just follow the current building code, modern buildings are so much more energy efficient and environmentally sustainable than they were 20 years ago. So, but we will certainly push to try and get this as high as possible in terms of LEED certification, et cetera.
I have a question.
Yeah, you want to ask?
Okay, I can ask. You talked about concerts going on or stuff going on at the arena. How are you working the temporary seats? Is there a plan for how many temporary seats you have so that you can maximize and make up for the fact that it wasn't planned that way?
Yeah, so in the main arena, which again you'll be seeing shortly, there are 800 permanent seats in the bleachers, and then we will have temporary seats that we will bring out for performances to get us up to the 1,500 to 2,000, depending where you put the stage. So those are just going to be temporary seats that the municipality purchases and keeps in a storage locker. So
Good.
pretty typical stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
This is fantastic. You haven't talked about funding from the town's perspective.
Just so everyone at the back can hear.
Yeah, come on over. You won't bite.
Thank you, Andrew. You haven't talked about any of the funding from the taxpayer to support this new high school and theater and everything else, and purchasing additional property. You know, on top of the debt that the town is carrying now, how much more debt do we as taxpayers are going to be carrying?
And the reason I didn't talk about that is because we're leveraging partnerships. So the school, the core of the school, it would be paid for by the Ministry of Education. That's what they do. They fund the capital build of a school. So no municipal dollars would go into any of that. That is entirely funded by the province. The land that the school will sit on, the school board currently has funding in their educational development charges to pay for 6 acres of land, because that's what an elementary school is. So they will be buying that land, not the municipality. The remainder of the land, all of the sports facilities that I mentioned, we will be getting from the landowner as a contribution. The town will not be buying that. It's a parkland contribution. So that entire facility comes at $0 for the taxpayers. Now I will add, the one element that the town will partner on is the cultural center, and the school will build the physical room itself, so the town would kick in a sound system and some seats. So that is a minimal cost, and we're going to explore ways to actually leverage some sponsorship dollars, and hopefully we can get some folks to actually pay for that, so that there's zero impact to the taxpayer. So that's how community hubs are done these days. They should not be on the backs of the taxpayer. Okay,
Will we see any kind of completion within 5 years?
So the townhouse, the nice thing about the townhouses is they're a year. So you know, from an infrastructure point of view, we'd be handling all the internal infrastructure. So between that and building the townhouses, it's a year. It happens pretty quick.
Okay. So we're starting relatively soon, which is good.
I sure hope so. And you know, the year and a half that's going to take us to get through the process
Right.
of visioning and designing and getting ready to go. We're hoping that the interest rates are coming down a bit by then. And,
Good luck.
And we'll avoid the market.
Well, thank you for coming back.
The interesting thing is a lot of our buyers aren't affected by interest rates. A lot of our buyers historically don't have mortgages, don't have very low mortgages. And it's not the same effect as you would have in Toronto or the suburbs of Toronto, where you're getting younger families trying to maximize their house size.
Thank you very much for coming back.
It's great to be here.
Frank, this isn't directly for you, but we were one of the ones that went to Port Credit, and you did an amazing job, and we appreciated you taking us there. But what I want to encourage all the people here is, we're going to have an election again in 26, I guess, and we want to make sure that all of you take part in making sure that we don't get bushwhacked the way we did last time.
Your hand up? Oh, sure, you're going to make me walk all the way back there. There you are, young man.
thank you.
You're looking at 4 years for a new high school. What will happen with Worsley, St. Noel, and Birchview? I know you said perhaps an home subdivision of another school. And on Sunnydale, the public board is projecting a small 400-room public school. How does this all tie in? What will happen to these little schools, and what is the enrollment projected for this new year?
We'll quickly switch gears back to the school, and I'll give the mic back to Frank. Both school boards, the public and the Catholic, have done all of their numbers independently and have looked at the impact on all of their schools.
schools, both elementary and secondary. No schools will be closed as a result of either of these high schools. In fact, the numbers, and you can actually go online and research the numbers that the school boards have submitted, within 10 years of this school being built, being open, every high school in the area is going to be between 130 and 160% capacity. That just shows you the tremendous growth that we are experiencing here. So this is desperately needed to take the pressure off of other facilities. On day one, let's assume that this is open, doors open 2027, the school in Collingwood, the Catholic high school there, it will operate at about 70-75% capacity, but what they're going to do is transition that to a 7 to 12, and within a year, that will be up at 100% capacity. And this will actually take the pressure off of Collingwood and alleviate them having to build a third school in Collingwood. So this actually makes a lot of financial sense for the Catholic board. The public board, last we spoke with them, they're anticipating 2030, 2031 for opening that high school. And as far as we understand, this doesn't impact them at all.
Another question back here.
This question
This
is
is for
probably
Frank.
for Frank and or for Andrew.
Sorry, before you ask the question, can I say something related to that? Just 1 second before you. So our research shows that most of our buyers don't have kids of age. But, you know, a lot of our buyers will come from the community, and that frees up homes that bring families in. So you know, people that are moving from one place to another, very high likelihood that they're replaced by families. Sorry about that.
No problem. The question, my question is, we've heard a lot of talk about the redevelopment, the hub, and the funding, the partnerships. However, one of the questions I do have is in both respects, both to the community hub and to your development, what is the plans for accommodating the increase in traffic in the area? We have a problem of traffic already on River Road and Wolseley, and also on the weekends, especially in the summertime, we have some significant traffic problems. I'm wondering, when is that going to be looked at, or is that going to be part of your work, Frank or Andrew, or part of the town's work? I'm just wondering who is going to take responsibility for the traffic impact studies and the construction of the facilities that are required to accommodate the increase in traffic. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely, a great question. Our work with Frank, we will absolutely be looking at the traffic impact of the development down there. We'll be looking at the traffic impact of the high school, the school buses, etc. Again, that is quite normal to be doing that kind of thing. Again, we will monitor it when upgrades are required. We have a process, we have development charges that help pay for those improvements to infrastructure. There has long been a plan, ever since I can remember, to build a third bridge across the river. At some point in time, the traffic will get to a point where we need to build a third bridge. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but there are plans to improve. River Road is under construction right now. There are plans to improve the area in front of the school as well. What I would say to this is, when you drive around the community today, tomorrow, we're in the shoulder seasons, and traffic isn't that bad. It's a little bit worse at the west end of town, and there are plans to expand Moseley to the west end of town, where we're seeing a lot of the pressure. But you know, generally throughout most of the year, most of the day, the traffic isn't that bad. I do recall, as a youngster in this community, in the summertime, I grew up at 13th Street. My mother's over there. She's been here for 80 years. This town used to be absolute gridlock in the summertime. It is nowhere even close to what it used to be. For those that are relative newcomers to the town, believe me, on a summer weekend when I was a kid, you walked from your house to the main end because you were moving faster than the cars. So I think, yeah, there was only one resident too. So we've got a bit of room to actually get to a point where it's critical, and then we will invest in new infrastructure to handle the capacity.
I have somebody over here for another question. Right?
So, don't want to mislead anybody, but our developments such as this typically
He's just
don't
adding his
add
2
to
cents.
the traffic because the people are already there. But if we do our job right, and we create a place where more people want to be, not just beachgoers, that's what creates the traffic. So for credit, the traffic's worse coming in than it is going out. Because people want to be in Port Credit and there's stuff to do and they're coming in. So that's what we also have to keep an eye on.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, I started a Facebook group several years ago regarding the restoration of the Dardanella. What are your plans on that area between First Street and Third Street?
Excellent question. I was going to point that out. So everyone is aware, over the last 4 years, the previous concepts with Slate, Baylock, Zancor, the Dardanella was going to be leveled. It was going to be destroyed. We were very clear when we reached out to Frank and the other folks to respond to the RFP that we did not want that to happen, that we intended to preserve the Dardanella. We want to work with the community to figure out what that means. Like, we don't know just yet. Does it mean actually restoring the Dardanella, the current building, or does it mean tearing down and building a new Dardanella? But we wanted to leave that option open for the community, and we intend to work with all of you to figure that out together. But Frank will not be incorporating that site in his plan. We're going to hold that until we have an opportunity to figure out. And I hope everyone agrees that that's the right thing to do.
Please raise your hand if you have a question.
So to that point, what we did is, I referred to the blocked out parcels that we left out of our proposal that we're going to deal with. That's one of the ones that is actually blocked right out already.
Hi Frank, I'm glad you're back. I'm a little frustrated though because between 2014 and 2018, it sounded like by 2018 shovels would be in the ground, and then we had 4 years of whatever. How come it's going to be another year and a half, 2 years before we see shovels in the ground again? Like, can't you just pick up where you were in 2018 and put it back together?
So beach 1 is a bit different than beach 2. Beach 2 was pretty well shovel ready. Beach 1 needs more infrastructure. Everybody knows what's got to happen in terms of lifting Beach Road, Beach Drive, and so there's a little bit more to it. And both from a grading point of view, from a layout point of view, it's going to take a little bit longer. It just takes time, and I have to tell you, I'm confident that Wasaga doesn't take the time. I think when you compare it to other municipalities and what we see in other municipalities and how long things take, I'm looking forward to working here.
We got another one in the back.
I just wanted to build on that. No one is more frustrated and wants to see something happen than this council and all of the staff working down the road at Town Hall, myself included. The reason I got into this profession was because I was watching this community that I loved go down, down, down. And I wanted to do something about it. That's what motivated me to get into this profession. So believe me, I'm going to be pushing Frank, and we're going to be pushing each other to try and make something happen as quickly as possible. Had things not played out the way they did between 2018 and 2022, there would be buildings built. There would be people living down there. So keep that in mind. The electorate is never wrong. They're not always right. But the choice was made, and that was the result. We have to give Frank, we have to give town staff time to do this properly. I don't think you would want us rushing and making mistakes. We want to get it right. You're going to be looking at this for a number of years, and our families and future generations are going to be living with what we build. So let's get it right and take the time to do it properly. But at the same time, we'll do it fast.
You're good for the question? Okay, you can ask the question. There's a lady with the mic already.
Going back
You
to
wanna be next?
the heavy traffic in the main season, have you ever thought about people movers? Where we visited other places in the world where there's a beach especially involved, they have trolleys that run continuously in high season. Some of the areas we've been in, they have one lane designated just for the trolleys, and they just keep going around and around and around. And this way, you don't have as many cars coming to the beach, and you don't have people walking, you know, quite a few kilometers to get to the beach. It was just a suggestion I thought you might take into consideration.
Absolutely, and you are absolutely 100% correct. And that's the kind of thing, once traffic gets to a certain level, there are solutions. There are ways to manage traffic. I spend a lot of time, my family spends a lot of time in Siesta Key. You've probably heard me talk about that many times. Siesta Key is at a whole other level in terms of beach town and tourist visitation. #1 beach in North America. You go there at Christmas, March break, it is wall-to-wall people, and they're implementing people movers. They're implementing free trolleys, and you see that across Florida. You see that in many beach towns. So those are the solutions that we can look to once it gets to a point where everybody wants to come back to Wasaga Beach because this is the best place in Canada to be. But we do need a bit of work to reignite our tourism economy here. But you're right, when we get there, we can implement things like that.
Next question. Sorry.
So, you know, I'm confident that we'll do from a commercial point of view, an added draw to the beach, which means more people, and that will create the issue that Andrew refers to. We've got some experience that we can pass on, because in December, our newest phase in Port Credit will have an electric shuttle that will take people from that phase to the GO station directly. So it's a little bit different. It's not people that are going from a parking lot to a beach, but it's probably about the same distance.
I think they can. I think they're ready.
Okay, two-part question. One of the town's priorities was the reconstruction of Main Street. So I'm wondering, does this new hub take any of the wind out of those sails? And the second part for Frank, what is Fram's participation going to be in Main Street, and when would that start?
So the first question, does the hub take the wind out of the sails of Main Street? Absolutely not. In fact, it puts wind in the sails. The more new builds that happen along Main Street, and I consider the area in front of the TPAL and the new community hub to be part of the Main Street, that's a good thing. The more we can get a mix of uses and a mix of anchors that draw people, that draw traffic along Main Street, that helps support business, that helps support all of the ancillary uses. You add 1,000 children to our Main Street, all those shops and restaurants along Main Street are going to benefit. That high school in Elmville keeps a lot of those shops and restaurants open. Take that high school away and some of those would be in trouble. So I see this absolutely as a benefit to Main Street. It's a start, it's an anchor at one end. The beachfront will be an anchor at the other end, and then we fill in between with traditional Main Street buildings, with mixed-use shops, restaurants, and all the other types of things that you see in every other great community. So very positive. The second, sorry, I forget your second question.
Your second question.
So called the main square 5 years ago, is still there. The drawings are still there. We're going to present them again in November for you to look at and comment on. But I would say to you that the priority, because we're working on Beach One, the priority is to get Festival Square working. Our experience on waterfront development is if you do the waterfront right, the value it creates emanates and reverberates away from the water. If you try to start away from the water, you're bringing down the value of the water versus bringing it up. So I think it's more important to pay attention to what we're going to do on Festival Square, what's going to be on Festival Square, and get that right, and then move over to the main square.
I'll give a chance to somebody in the middle here. You've been in the back for a little while.
You've said several times about the plan that was Beach 2. Is there a reason we're not going back to that?
I'd hope that we get back to that. But the priority of council was that Beach One was a priority. And I get that because the importance is the Festival Square. So we do have to bring people into Beach One, but we also got to get the square going, because the square will create the value. Beach 2 can happen once we've got our foot in the door on Beach One and got it going.
There, unfortunately, between 2014 and 18, there was a lot of misinformation that was spread throughout the community. And unfortunately, again, I think Beach 2 was the victim of some of that. What we have said to Frank is we want to be respectful to all of you and everyone in this community. Let's start at Beach 1. I think there are nodding heads. I don't care what side of the fence you're sitting on. I think everyone agrees that Beach 1 needs to be redeveloped. And then we can have discussion with the community about Beach 2. Do I believe Beach 2 should be developed? I do. But again, let's not jump in there until we have that opportunity to talk with the community and see what the community would like to see there, so that we're respectful. So I hope that answers that question.
Next. There's an echo in here.
Hi there. I do love the SUP. We've been there many times, and a lot of the different places in the States have something that we seem to have an issue with, whether it's because of the province or the municipality. I don't know the boundaries on the water, but what about a pier going out into the water that would, instead of taking business, as you said, away from the water, we're actually going into the water? Or is that something the province has to approve?
Well, the province has to approve it. It's navigable waterways. The federal government may have to approve it, probably has to approve it. Yeah, so there you go, it's even more. It's in the fisheries, and it costs a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and it's not adding commercial tax base for you. So I think we gotta break the back of the development as a whole, and the town will benefit from the tax base that then we bring in, and then the town can decide what it wants to do with something like that. You know, there is a wonderful one that's done in Burlington that they put out there. It's the second go at it, because the first one didn't work. But it didn't come cheap. It was very expensive, and it's a nice place to go for a walk. But you've got a wonderful beach to go for a walk on. They don't.
There's the drywall one. Anybody else? Okay, back in the back again.
He's getting a workout.
Yeah, no kidding. I like being fat. This is terrible.
Hello. With us being a neighbor, or the shoreline being a provincial park, has there been any communications with Ontario Parks regarding any requirements that they would need to, just to make sure we're not going to get blindsided by something later?
There has been a lot of communication. As recently as council, we were in London at the Ontario Municipalities Association, where we met with multiple ministries, including ministries of MECP, who is the folks that actually look after the beachfront. The message that we delivered, I think very loud and clear, was that you took these lands in the 60s and 70s and you haven't spent a nickel on them in 50 years. We're going to be working with Frank and our community to try and reinvent ourselves, reinvigorate this community, and deliver something world-class. And we need you to do the same thing. So we've asked them to work with us, to take a look at their beach areas. Are they functioning highest and best use? I will tell you, back in July, we took our member of parliament to tour some of these beach areas. And it was a July day, I forget which day, but it was 30+ degrees out. And we went out onto the spit, into the provincial parking area, which accommodates, I think, close to about 1,000 cars. There were 12 cars on the spit. There was sand blowing everywhere. The shade structures that were built in 1971, the sand is built up so high to the point where instead of actually replacing them, they just put rubber around the back so when you bang your head on it, you don't get knocked down. The picnic tables are gross. I would never sit down and use them. So it's run down. I thought it was quite telling that the province just announced they're going to invest $50 million in provincial parks, and Wasaga Beach got 0. Nancy, you've heard me talk about Nancy
Frank might
Island,
say something.
which should be a national historic site. Look at the paint on the actual buildings. It's just not good enough. It's not worthy of this community. So we are asking respectfully for them to pull up their socks and work with us and reinvent the beachfront. So I'm hopeful that they will listen and work with us, but it is a bit of a sore point right now, but we are trying to push hard.
Next question over here.
Andrew, has there been any talk about what's going to happen with the old arena? The old hockey arena?
Yes, so we're off on a tangent, but yes.
I just wondered, like, has there been any discussion maybe of having like an indoor arcade or electric bumper cars or something like that? I mean, is the building safe enough to still use it for indoor activities when there's a rainy day or so that the kids and adults can go somewhere?
Yep, yeah, so
the
simple answer, which is going to lead to more questions, I'm sure, is that beginning early in the new year, we're vacating that building, we're moving over to the new arena facility, and essentially we're going to keep the heat and hydro on just so mold doesn't grow in there until we figure out what to do with it. But that building is going to be vacant for the short term. We have our staff currently working on facilities review, and they're going to be looking at potential reuse for the Wasaga Stars Arena. We've asked them to move quickly on that, and then that will come to council very soon, I'm hoping before the end of the year, so that we can provide some options to council. We also have to look at the business impacts, the business plan for it. To keep that building going, what will it cost operational dollars? Are there capital improvements required? So we'll look at potentially what the uses could be, what kind of revenue would come to the municipality, and what it would cost to keep it going, because it is not a modern building. The comment earlier about building something that's energy efficient, that building is not energy efficient. Nope. So we'll look at all of that, and then council will provide some direction as to which path we'd like to go, and obviously we will keep the community involved in all of that as well.
Another question up front? Anybody interested? Going, gone. Next.
Thank you. Because this is going to be such a long project, has there been any thought given to an online forum for people to put forth ideas, ask questions outside of the meetings?
We can absolutely do that, yeah. Yeah, so the town does have a mechanism where you can submit your comments and feedback. Just the history with online discussion in Wasaga Beach and social media.
Not Facebook, not Facebook.
Not that I'm afraid of it, but,
It doesn't have to be an online thing, just would there be any,
yeah.
you know, I mean,
I'm
not.
hopeful that we can do this, where we can come and talk in person, Frank can come and talk in person, and just tell us face to face. It's so much more meaningful. My door, for those of you who know me, is always open to anyone in the community. I meet with Peter regularly. If you've got ideas, just pick up the phone, drop in, surprise me, come sit down.
You're gonna be sorry. You're my new best friend.
They don't listen.
Maybe you forgot how for that.
I'll bring coffee.
Anybody else? Yep, I see you at the
One of
back.
the things that we can do is, as we go through the process of stakeholder engagement, we can maybe open up a forum ourselves, so that reflects those days. Probably gonna get feedback on that and then have another presentation. So that'll be, over those few months, you know, we'll be able to grab some information. Maybe we do that, Andrew. We don't give an opportunity for me to respond though.
Next question.
My question is for Andrew. Andrew, I have 11 years experience teaching in a hub school. On one side, it was an elementary Catholic school, and on the other side of the gym, it was a regular public school, and I taught in the public side. We also had attached to us a very large library, a really world-class library, and on the other side, there was attached a pool, so that the whole community could use the facilities, and they used the facilities really well. There was what you were talking about in your plan is having what did you call it, a cultural center. And we had what was called a multi-purpose room, and that people could rent for any reason. And it really was a wonderful thing. The only thing that I'm suggesting to you is that if you have only Catholic kids at that school, Catholic enrollments are fluctuating, right? They're not generally as large as the public ones. So would you consider, after the first enrollment that you do, that you might have to switch and make it half and half?
So you're raising an excellent point.
This question is for both of you. It's for Frank and it's for Andrew. I have heard so many people say how happy they are that you're back in Wasaga Beach. Both of you and everybody, including us, are very, very happy that you're back. But not once have I heard you say how happy you are to be back. Frank!
I'm sure it was the first thing I said.
Say it with gusto. I want gusto in there.
Then you have to call me Chicho.
There you go.
Chicho! Are you happy to be back in Wasaga
Very,
Beach?
very happy.
No, gusto. Chicho, gusto. Andrew, are you happy to be back in Wasaga Beach?
I am thrilled to be back. And I am thrilled to be back working with you, Rita.
Thank you. I